materials in nature that you use when you go school shopping? Probably some paper, pencils, backpacks, plastic containers, or in natural terms, plants and oils. These are all materials that come from natural resources. Natural resources are to make a product that comes from nature. In this lesson, we are going to learn about the different types of natural resources with a focus on the desert biome. Natural resources are classified in two ways: non-renewable and renewable. We're going to go over non-renewable energy first. These are the resources that will run out someday. Examples of this are the fossil fuels of coal, petroleum, and natural gas. Fossil fuels are formed from ancient plants and animals millions of years ago. Once we use up any of the fossil fuels, they are gone. So wait a minute, if fossil fuels are made naturally, doesn't that sound like a fossil fuel can be renewed? Well, only if you've got a million years or so to wait. Let's watch a short video that explains why fossil fuels are considered a non-renewable resource before moving on to renewable.
So why are fossil fuels such a powerful but ultimately problematic source of energy? Conditions on the waterways of today's Louisiana help us understand how fossil fuels are made, why they're ultimately unsustainable. Oil, coal, and natural gas are made from things, mostly plants, that lived and died long ago. It's taken hundreds of millions of years for nature to create enough of the special conditions that save the carbon and energy in plants to form the fossil fuels that we use. Here's how it works. Plants, like these tiny diatoms encased in silica shells, grow in the upper layers of lakes and oceans, using the sun's energy to turn carbon dioxide and water into plants. When they die, if they're buried where there's little oxygen to break them down, their chemical bonds retain the energy that began as sunlight. If enough carbon-rich matter is buried deeply enough, for long enough, the Earth's heat and pressure turn it into fossil fuel, concentrating the energy that once fed the growing plants. Vary what goes into Earth's pressure cooker and the temperature, and you end up with the different kinds of fossil fuel. Woody plants make coal. Slimy plants, algae, will give you oil, and both of them give rise to natural gas. The fossil fuels formed over a few 100 million years, and we're burning them over a few 100 years. And if we keep doing that, sooner or later they must run out. But there's a bigger problem with fossil fuels. As we've seen, they're made of carbon primarily. When you burn them, you add oxygen, and that makes CO2 that goes in the air. We're reversing the process by which they formed. And if we keep doing this, it must change the composition of Earth's atmosphere.
So let's move on to a renewable resource, which can be replaced if used wisely. A common example is trees we use for paper. When we cut down trees, another tree can grow in its place. People sometimes cut down trees far faster than they can grow back. When this happens, it is called deforestation. We learned this in the last lesson when we studied forest, with the temperate and the rainforest being cut down at a faster rate than they get back. They're a renewable resource, but we have to use them wisely or they become non-renewable. By managing our resources, however, we can repair and prevent resource loss. Another example which leads us into our focus biome, the desert, is solar energy. Wherever the sun shines, that energy can be harnessed through solar panels, which gather the energy and convert it into electricity. Did you know that Indianapolis, yes, our own Indianapolis, is home to the largest solar farm housed at an airport? Indianapolis International Solar Farm can power 3,210 homes for an entire year. If you're ever interested, you can learn more about Indy's award-winning project at indsolarfarm.com. So getting into our focus biome, the desert, connecting, get it, the sun from last time, we are going into the natural renewable resource of the desert and the sun. This is a video of DreamWorks TV, and it takes a different approach to helping you learn about the desert biome. Now, please make sure that you practice your note-taking strategies while you're watching, so you are ready for the lesson quiz. Get your paper set up with your notes, your keywords, and listen through this video and try to pull out some of the words that you may or may not know and some of the concepts that you feel are important. Listen and write them down.
Grab some sunblock and a canteen because today we'll be heating up with 25 crazy cool, epic, awesome, funny, weird, wild, and unexpected true facts about deserts. Number 25. Earth has way more desert than you might think. Our planet might look like a green and blue marble from space, but did you know that 1/4 of Earth's land surface is desert? Whoa, that's a lot of sand. So what is a desert exactly? Number 24. By definition, a desert is a dry region that gets less than 10 inches of rain each year. There are 4 major types of deserts: hot and dry, semi-arid, coastal, and cold deserts. Hot and dry deserts are, well, hot and dry. They have extreme temperature variations, often over 90 degrees during the day and below freezing at night. Semi-arid deserts average between 70 and 80 degrees in the summer, and nighttime temps hover around 50 degrees. Coastal deserts stay relatively cool in the summer and are much saltier thanks to the coastal oceans. Finally, cold deserts have blistery winters, snowfall, and temperatures below freezing. Which brings us to number 23, the world's largest desert, Antarctica. Despite its snowy look, the world's coldest continent loses more moisture than it gains. In fact, there's more rainfall in the Sahara Desert than in Antarctica. Whoa, those penguins must get thirsty. Number 22. And speaking of thirsty, those penguins should steer clear of the Atacama Desert in Chile. That's because no rainfall has ever been recorded there. Scientists think that parts of the region have been extremely dry for over 40 million years. That makes it the oldest desert on all of planet Earth. Number 21. If you ever find yourself lost in a desert like Atacama, you can stay hydrated by sucking water from the branches of different desert palm trees. Most people think you can always drink cactus milk, but that's not as easy as you might think. Most cacti are strong enough that you'd need a saw or machete side. If you do need some of the sweet, sweet cactus milk, try pear. Oh, and some cactus milk will also give you headaches and diarrhea, so choose wisely. Number 20. Despite how harsh and unforgiving deserts can be, people have tried for thousands of years to conquer the sweltering sands. The Trans-Saharan Highway is a huge 2,900-mile highway project under construction. It will link Africa's most populous city, Lagos, Nigeria, to Tunisia and Algeria across the Saharan Desert. The section of the road in the middle of the Sahara is rarely used and requires special vehicles and precautions to survive the extreme climate in the center of the desert. So if it takes special vehicles just to traverse Saharan highways, no one would ever walk across the desert, right? Wrong! Number 19. The Marathon des Sables, or the Marathon of Sands. Back in 1984, French concert promoter Patrick Bauer crossed the Sahara Desert on foot all by himself. He covered 214 miles of desert in 12 days without seeing a single oasis or desert town along the way. Apparently, his crazy walk gave him plenty of time to think of an even crazier idea, because 2 years later, the first annual Marathon des Sables was held. This 6-day, 156-mile trek is considered the toughest foot race on the planet. Only 23 runners entered the first ultra-marathon, but by 2009, over 1,000 runners, presumably with death wishes, participated. And I bet they got pretty darn sweaty. Number 18. The desert generates a ton of heat and a ton of energy. According to German particle physicist Gerhard Nies, in just 6 hours, the world's deserts receive more energy from the sun than humans consume in a whole year. If we were able to harness all of the energy in a stretch of the Sahara Desert about the size of Wales, we could power all of Europe. Number 17. With all the extremes of the desert, you might think they're, well, deserted. But actually, deserts are home to a surprisingly diverse group of plants and animals. In fact, only rainforests have a more diverse ecosystem. And in order to survive the crazy desert conditions, plants and animals have developed some pretty wild ways to survive. Number 16. Our desert survivor, the scarab beetle. These little guys, also known as dung beetles, can be found in deserts all around the world. They get their less dignified name from their creative use of animal feces for survival. They'll either roll a small ball of dung to their underground home, or if they're feeling lazy, they'll just dig a new hole next to the new pile of poop. Sometimes they'll even dig a hole into the droppings, chewing their way out when they get hungry. That's good animal feces. Number 15. Our next desert survivor, the thorny devil or thorny dragon. Since water can be hard to find in the deserts of the Australian outback, the thorny devil has developed the ability to drink using its skin. Its thorny scales are designed to collect dew and channel it down to the corners of the lizard's mouth. Number 14. The blind skink. This creepy legless lizard looks more like a worm or snake. Found in Southeast Asia, the blind skink deals with the sweltering heat by simply, well, staying out of it. Over time, they've lost their legs and eyes to evolution, preferring instead to spend most or all of its life underground searching for bugs to eat. But not everyone can survive just by eating underground bugs. The Gila monster. This 2-foot lizard is found in the Sonoran Desert and is one of only 2 venomous lizards in the whole wide world. Much like the blind skink, they spend most of their life underground avoiding the heat. Instead of squirming around looking for bugs, the Gila monster goes months between meals by living off of fat stored in its tail. Nifty. Number 12. The Dorcas gazelle. This small North African gazelle never has to drink water or pee. Sure, they'll drink water if it's available to them, but they're able to get all the water they need from the food they eat. The Dorcas gazelle pees in the form of white pellets of uric acid, saving the water they would pee out in liquid form. Now that's one white pellet I would not want to confuse with a rice cake. Number 11. The desert tortoise. Found in North America, adult desert tortoises can survive for more than a year without drinking water. They can live in areas with ground temperatures above 140 degrees Fahrenheit by spending 95% of their life underground. Because of their slow and steady lifestyles, most desert tortoises live between 50 and 80 years. So some animals adapted ways to eat and drink in the desert, but others focused on just getting around in all that sand. Number 10. Sidewinding. This sideways method of movement is only used by 2 species of snake in the entire world. The Mojave Desert Sidewinder in the southwestern US, and the Namib Desert Viper in Africa. The snakes undulate their bodies sideways, which gives them enough momentum them to smoothly slide themselves forward. It helps them gain traction on shifting sands and keeps only 2 points of the serpent's body on the hot ground at any given time. Number 9. No discussion of desert survival is complete without mentioning the camel. They store fat in their hump, which can be used as a source of food and water during the driest seasons. Number 8. And that's not all the ways the camel has adapted to life in the desert. Their mouths have a thick, leathery lining, which lets them chew prickly desert plants. They also have long, thick ear and eyelash hairs that help keep out all that sand. If sand does get in their eyes, they also have a transparent third eyelid that can clear things out. Number 7. And that's still not all the ways camels protect themselves. They can close off their nostrils entirely if need be, keeping out debris in even the heaviest sandstorms. A camel's wide stance and large feet help it to move without sinking, kind of like sandy snowshoes. Okay guys, time to get weird, because our deserts house some of the last mysteries known to man, both natural and unnatural. Which brings us to number 6, our natural desert mystery, fairy circles. These bizarre natural formations in the Namibian desert are evenly spaced circles where nothing can grow that are lined at the edge with knee-high grass. Experts aren't sure what causes these strange circles to appear, but theories include termites, sandbathing ostriches or zebras, fungi, or even underground gas. Experts are sure of one thing though, there does seem to be a method to the fairy circle madness. The circles never overlap, and each fairy circle can be between 7 and 65 feet in diameter. They can survive for up to 75 years, and no one knows what causes them to vanish. Freaky! And that's not the only mystery. Number 5. Some mysteriously old tools. That's right, the oldest handmade stone tools ever discovered were uncovered in desert badlands in 2011. The 149 stone tools discovered date back to over 3.3 million years ago, to a time when no human ancestor existed. This is hugely important because it disproved the long-held belief that tools evolved along with humans. What we do know is that whoever built those tools had the physical and mental capacity to sharpen tools using a technique we now call napping. They could have been built by human ancestors or by another species completely unrelated to humans. Like ancient aliens, yes! Number 4. Desert ruins that are older than the pyramids. In 2009, researchers uncovered the ruins of a mysterious ancient city that once stood 50 miles from modern-day Damascus in Syria. After running some tests, the researchers determined that the city was older than even the oldest known cities in the region, having been built 6,000 to 10,000 years ago. For comparison, the oldest pyramids were built 4,500 years ago. Who built the city and what happened to it are still mysteries to this day. But tools and cities aren't the only things discovered in the desert sands. Number 3. Some of the first dinosaur eggs ever discovered were found in the desert. The Gobi Desert, to be exact. The oviraptor eggs were unearthed in 1923 during an expedition led by Roy Chapman Andrews, director of the American Museum of Natural History. Along with the eggs, Andrews and his team discovered the remains of Protoceratops, Pinacosaurus, Oviraptor, and Velociraptor, none of which had ever been heard of before. Number 2. The truly astonishing ancient city of Petra. This wonder was half-built, half-carved sandstone cliffs on the edge of the Wadi Araba Desert in modern-day Jordan around 312 BC. Unfortunately, half of the city was destroyed by a major earthquake in 333 AD. The city was all but forgotten for over 500 years until a Swiss explorer visited the site in 1812 and reintroduced it to the world at large. The city was built by a people called the Nabateans, who used it to connect with Greece and nations in southern Asia. Petra is a city full of monuments and sacred structures, and possibly thousands of rooms inside. To this day, Petra's innermost chambers are still being discovered and explored. Finally, our number 1 fact, the most majestic desert on Earth, the Great Sahara Desert. First off, it's huge! The Sahara Desert is bigger than the continental United States and takes up 8% of the planet's entire land area. The Sahara might be sweltering during the day and blistering cold at night, but it wasn't always that way. Around 8,000 years ago, the Sahara was covered in rich, fertile green vegetation. Ancient underground rivers left over from those days still exist and occasionally make it to the surface, creating a desert oasis. The Sahara is also home to its own mysteries. The Rishat structure, also known as the Eye of the Sahara, is a 30-mile wide circular feature located on the west side of the Sahara. It's made of concentric circles in shades of blue, green, and red, and can even be seen from space! For many years, experts thought it was an impact crater from a giant meteor, but thoroughly modern research suggests that it's almost certainly not. The structure formed nearly 100 million years ago, so no humans could have possibly built it. Another theory is that it's the top of a volcano, but the shape is totally different than any volcano on Earth. So, to this day, even the leading experts aren't sure where the structure came from or how it got its striking circular shape. Weird! And there they are, 25 dry facts about deserts. What's your favorite desert mystery? Let us know by commenting below, and remember
All right, it's quiz time. Hopefully you were able to listen to that video and take some notes, and you have some keywords and some key phrases on your note page that you can use during the quiz. So at this time, click back over to your agenda, find lesson quiz link, and good luck.